don't stop.
Welcome to Grace and Lottie's. Today I am back in Johanna's Christmas, doing the Christmas tree. In the last video I did all the pencil coloring, and so today I'm going to be going back with some markers and extra bits and pastels to really embellish this one up. The first step that I did was I drew a big circle around my Christmas tree, just did that with a regular pencil, and this is going to be my dividing line. That will be between pastel and ink work, and it'll kind of work like a window that you'll see as we go further along, but I need to know where my borders are on this. So I went in with a white Prismacolor here and just pushed really hard, doing lots of circles. Now, one thing that you can do with this is hard to see when you're straight on, but if you go to the side, you can see where those circles are because it kind of gives a little glare. And so I had to keep going to the side and looking back and forth, trying to see where they were laid in, made sure that a couple kind of hit the edge so that they were peeking behind, so kind of give an illusion of depth there. Now this is supposed to create white snowballs when I go over this with pastels, and sadly when I did this it didn't work like I wanted to. I put in all these beautiful white circles, and so I got ready, got my pastels out, and when I rubbed over, they disappeared. Now I could see them a little bit, but they weren't white, and I don't know what I did wrong on this one, but what I've seen before is you do it and it stays white. So I had to think on my feet onto how to fix that. So fortunately not too difficult, especially if you have an eraser pencil, because you'll see me come in a minute. And where I could see where the snowballs were, I just hit it with the eraser and it took off the pastel. So pretty easy fix. And to make them even whiter, I went back over them first with a pastel pencil and then with my white Prisma, just to kind of really get them nice and white. I didn't want them stark white. I wanted them to have a little bit of the blue showing through, so I didn't want it opaque. So that's why I didn't use a gel pen here, because it would seem a little stark and I wanted it to be a little softer. So that's the reasoning on that. So you'll see all the little fixes here as I go through. So I will join you back in a minute. Are done, and a few more steps than I had originally anticipated, but they turned out well. From here I was going to go in and lay in the black background. Now I thought that I could do this with just using my black pastel pencil that I had here. This is just one from Hobby Lobby that I got. It's from an inexpensive set, because I used this in a previous coloring and it did great, and for some reason the paper's different in here, and so it didn't give as dark of a background as I wanted, but it did lay a good foundation for the next step. So I went all the way over it, then you'll see me, I'll smooth it out, and you'll see there's a little bit of a bit that I got into the blue. Now I just went back, and it's not on camera because my camera cut out, and I just did that with my eraser pencil, and then just used the teeniest bit of the blue pastel just to kind of fill in where it erased. So not hard to clean up and fix your mistakes in this, especially considering that the background behind the tree had a couple of different colors in it. It just wasn't one solid, so it kind of gives the illusion of some colors kind of dancing in the background there. So it doesn't take very long to put all this in with pastel. It goes pretty quick, and it gives a good base. I wish it had colored a little bit more, and maybe if I'd gone back in with a second coat, it would have covered better. But I was just like, oh well, forget this. And so I moved on to something else on top of it. Now, after this, I needed to tell you that after I put this pastel down and I smoothed it out, I took it outside and I put some fixative over it so that my pastel wouldn't go anywhere and I wasn't going to be smudging it everywhere. So I don't show that on camera because I'd have to take my camera off the tripod, take you outside with me and do it. So just know that I am doing that between these steps. Work done, I came back in with a pigment brush marker so that this would be true black. Now, I learned in doing this that I should have used probably my 08 Pigment Liner on this one rather than just jumping in with the brush, especially along the edges. It would have given me a cleaner line. But I had some other little ways to fix that. I also knew that around the silver I'm coming back in with markers later, so I wasn't as particular there because the markers are opaque and they would cover up anything that went over it. Also had an idea going around the circle that would keep it from being such a stark line right there, that would kind of smooth that out, and you will see that in a little bit what's going to be happening there. So the brush one was great for filling in large areas. I can't imagine trying to do that with the pigment liner. It would have been a pretty much mind-numbingly boring trying to do that giant area. So the brush marker was great for this. You'll see a link in the description for it. It is something new in mine. And know that I'm putting in a lot of links down there now in my videos. These are for you guys to go out and check out and get a description. I know that some of these things, because they're on Amazon, they're a little bit more expensive than what you can get them locally. So if you can get them locally, I strongly suggest please going out and shopping locally for your things. I'm just doing this so that you can find descriptions, and if there isn't a shop next to you or near you, you can get them there and using the things I use. Now, one thing in particular, especially in the last video, was that I put in an ivory pencil. That ivory pencil on its own on Amazon was like $5, which is crazy expensive. I think I spend around $2 a piece for them when I buy them in open stock locally. So just know that I'm doing it so you can see what I'm using and get the product descriptions. Not that I'm expecting you to go and buy a $5 pencil. Shop it around and hopefully you can find a great deal. Finally, the black is done, and now I get to go in with my new metallic markers that I got. I am using the Crayolas in these just because of the colors that they had versus the Staedtler ones. I have both, and I'm going to be doing a product review going more in depth about the difference of these. And so the only reason I chose the Crayolas here was just because it had this coppery bronze color in it, and so that's what I wanted. I wanted the three metals to contrast against each other and just to have some fun on this page. So I had the bronze, the gold, and the silver. Now, one thing I did notice is when I went in with my silver, it got a little tired towards the end. It wasn't staying as opaque as it had been before. So that might be something to take into consideration, that maybe give them a break as you're using them. I just ended up going back and doing a second coat in some spots to kind of revitalize it and to get the coverage to be the same across the whole piece that I'm doing. So this bronze I really think is a lot of fun. I love, as I said in the previous video, the color play between turquoise and bronze that just kind of gets going. And so that was the big highlight of this one, and so that's why it was picked in specific spots so it would really pop when it came out. So hitting all of that, you'll get to see all the marker work going in, and then I will come back in a few minutes. I like, and this is a totally unnecessary step unless you like this too, is that I really like my black lines in my coloring to be strong. So I will go back in after I do something that is a little more opaque, like with gel pens or with these markers, and I will use my 01 pigment liner and put the lines back in so that they'll come back out and they pop out. And I love the definition that it gives. I don't know if it's just me wanting order, and that creates order. And in one area of my life, at least, I can have order. So that's my next step here. This is only if this is something you want. This is an optional step right here, but I like it, and I really think it helps the piece pop a little bit. So outlining is now done. So the next step was to go through with my light blue Jelly Roll Metallic gel pen here and to just do a little bead all the way around. And I'm really bad about remembering to start on an edge where I won't put my hand down. So that's why I had to move real quick. I started on one area. I was like, wait a minute, this is like the worst place to start. So you will notice this is an issue I have a lot, that I just forget, I get going and make a mistake. So hopefully by you seeing me make these mistakes, you will not make these mistakes. So you'll just see it's a simple blue dot, but this little blue dot going around just helps to create a softer transition between that pastel to that black that's very, very, very dark. This was just kind of to be a bridge on this. Now the next area, I debated like crazy what I was going to do. I did little test bits. I tried about 1,000 different colors and seeing how it would show up. I like what I chose. You may choose a different color to do this. And so I just took my Uniball Signo after testing all of the pens. It was the right width because it was a little fatter. And I just started drawing curly cues all up in this area. There is no wrong or right way to do curly cues. There just are. So I thought probably it was good to have some coming from off the page and on, so it wasn't just all coming out. Now, if you wanted to do them all coming out like they're kind of plants growing out, that would be cool too. You can also go back, and when you get all this done, you can add in little dots in the turquoise and the blue that we've already used elsewhere, and that would be cool. You could add white dots in if you wanted. I just, after trying a bunch, really liked the way the silver looked, so I went through and did curly cue after curly cue after curly cue. Now you will see that I am, again, not very good about remembering to keep my hand out of my gel pen, and I smudged these a lot. You can see in the middle of my bit there, I had my hand in gel pen and I put it right in the middle of that pretty pastel work. So I'll be coming back and fixing that in a little bit, so you'll see how I was able to blend that in so it wasn't so noticeable. But mistakes happen. Don't sweat it in your work. These are colorings for you to get to do. So if you want, share stories down in the comments about some of your blunders, because I think we can all learn from each other in these, and we can also laugh that we all have them. And if you did anything to fix it, or if you just accepted it for the beautiful mistake it was and went on. So I'd love to hear your stories. quick note, wherever I placed one that I ended up not liking, or I smudged my silver in the actual black areas, all I did was go back with a pigment liner and just kind of clean up those edges. Since this was a black background, those black pigment liners would just clean that up really easily. So those were easy fixes. Now in a minute I'm going to get to where I fix that bit in the middle, and I had to be a little creative with this, and I noticed on my hand that to get the gel pen off, that nail polish remover worked. So I got one of my Precision Point Q-tips that I use, and I put a little bit of nail polish remover on it, and I went in and just ever so lightly worked on that, just kind of spread it out a little bit. It roughed it up some so that I can go back here in a little bit with some pastel and go over it. Now because it darkened up that area, I then went back in with darker pastels in some other areas to help blend that in so it didn't look like so big of a glaring mistake. You know, I tried my eraser a little bit on it too to kind of help blend, but it was pastel erase from this point on once I spread it out with the nail polish remover, and then going in with some other areas and darkening in those so that one dark area here didn't stick out so bad. So it was just repeating the same steps until I was happy with the way it looked. Now, if you want, please share stories down in the comments that maybe sometimes mistakes are a happy thing and you were happy with a mistake. It took you in a different direction that maybe created a better work than what you expected. I was happy with the darker colors in this. I thought it gave it a little more dimension in the background and kind of helped it a little more galaxy feel, if you've ever seen a galaxy watercolor. Not that this is a galaxy background, it's not, but something similar to that kind of in the feel. Adding in those purples and the blues just added some to me. So I was glad that that mistake happened because it ended up making my background even better than what I had originally planned. Finished. I am happy with the way that this one turned out. As you can see, my desk is an absolute wreck after this because I was not very good about putting my materials away after I used them, so had quite a few bits and pieces everywhere that had to be cleaned up. I hope that you have liked this video. If you have, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to this station. I'm going to be posting hopefully pretty regularly. I'm setting my schedule right now to look to be on Sundays and Thursdays to be uploading new coloring videos, and then other random ones tossed about through that too, like product reviews and the new stuff that I'm using. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Grayson Lottes. I post pictures there about what I am working on, as well as you'll get some updates about when new videos are posting. And remember that art happens in everyday life. Make sure you're watching for it. Bye.
Don't stop.